So I've tried quite a few different slings on my Tavor over the last year and a half. This is what I use right now. This is an Urban ERT, which I've essentially rigged up to run like a 2-point sling. We've got an asp clip on the front swivel, and then on the rear we've just tied into a paracord like the factory sling. Nice thing about this is there's sort of a locking point on the Tavor, so it gives you a very vertical carry if you want, but you can also pop it and carry it low just like you would with the factory sling. The other thing that I really like about running it on the right hand side is it makes it much easier for shoulder transitions. And hopefully we're going to do a little bit of demonstration of that. And people complain about eating the brass from a Tavor, and you kind of do, but it's not like it's biting you. It's not like an SA-80 where the gun physically can't be fired from the left-hand side. Let's try that again. One of the reasons I've chosen this particular sling setup is it doesn't interfere with reloads in the way that other versions have. Here, all the reload action is in this kind of space, so anything that's running along the gun or coming back from here can often get in the way of getting a mag into the receiver. People have asked specifically about putting a single point sling onto a Tavor, and it can be done, as you can see, but you do run into a problem with it because your bolts and your piston are all at the back, so it kind of hangs funny. You can't use the front mount for a regular 2-point sling for sure. You're way too far past at that point. You can almost get it if you're wrapping around the entire rifle and barrel in the center there. And maybe if you were putting sling mounts on the top of your optics rail, you could have something that would clip in and that would hang right. Right now, I have to keep a hand on it, otherwise it'll start to spin the other direction pretty quick. I'm not a big fan of single point slings anyways. They kind of bounce a lot. Maybe if I put more lights and lasers and shit on the front of it, then it would hang properly, but I'm not really interested in doing that, and I'm not really interested in a single point sling. I have a feeling I'm going to run into the same problem with this that I do with the Urban ERT when it's all done up. Your reloads end up being in and around the sling. Let's try it. Actually not that bad as far as being able to come out, grab, and reinsert. That does okay. So this is the setup that I ran for a long time when I was switching through optics. Essentially, the idea here is we have 2 points of contact on the rifle and then a bunch of different flexible options. So in theory, we can pop there and make it sort of like a single point sling that hangs really low. Or we can pop the bridge in the middle and treat it just like our standard factory sling, also hangs fairly low. Or we can bridge it all together and have it almost like a single point because your point of balance is sort of closer to the balance of the gun. And it sits okay, but it's pretty constraining, and you run into some serious problems, like you physically cannot shoulder change with it, right? That's just not going to work at all. Which some people say the Tavor isn't designed for a shoulder change at all. I disagree with that, having actually done it, but not with this sling. Not with this kind of setup. I feel like there's an awful lot of clicking and parts and pieces in here, and we'll see when I do a reload, there's lots of stuff in this kind of area that just, you know, it increases your chance of failure. So I don't use this kind of sling anymore, but I like the 2-point better. I'm not decided on it yet. If there's better options out there, I'd love to see them.